today's video, I thought we'd do a little deep dive into the Suzuki GSX-R750 Slingshot. So we're going to talk about this bike pretty extensively, where it fits in the lineage of different Suzuki GSX-Rs over time, and kind of some of the things that make this bike special. Before we get started, I'd just like to say a big thank you to everybody that has subscribed to the channel and watched our videos. I've been absolutely blown away at the response that I've gotten over the GSX-R750 SRAD trip. So many people from all around the world reaching out saying, I had a GSX-R, or I love this, or I love these old bikes. A lot of people in the UK, Ireland, and the US. It's really cool. I'm super pumped and grateful for that. So thank you so much. Also, if it's possible for you to subscribe to the channel, that would really help us out a ton. We've been doing really well gaining subscribers, but the more subscribers we get, the easier things will be for us to keep creating the content. So the Suzuki GSX-R750 Slingshot. Let's take a little bit of a step back. The GSX-R750 first launched in 1986. Maybe 1985 in some markets, but the 86 was the launch of the GSX-R. That generation is known as the slab side to many people. So super cool motorcycle, basically the first racer replica bike. It was super lightweight, full fairing, had a really cool, innovative oil cooling system. And then the frame was quite unique in the way that it came up and angled over the carburetors. So really cool bike, cool story. A lot of the information in this video I'm going to be pulling from this Legacy Performance GSX-R750 book by Mark Cook. It's an absolutely awesome book if you're into these bikes. Unfortunately, it's getting a little bit hard to find, but if you can pick up a copy, it is definitely worth it. One of the really cool stories about the GSX-R750 is that the head engineer, when they were starting the process, he had the engineers take the GS750E, I believe it was, the one Kevin Schwantz raced in AMA, and he had them take the bike and completely dismantle it and lay it out on the floor. And he told them to take every part that they'd seen a failure in and paint it blue, and every part that they had never seen fail, paint it red. And then came in and looked at all the parts and quickly realized that they didn't see very many failures at all. So his point was, we're leaving way too much meat on the bone. We got to lighten this thing up, lighten up every part that you've never seen a failure. And the result was an absolutely fantastic motorcycle in the 86 GSX-R750. So that bike launched 86, it did really well. Legendary bike, as I said. And then the next revision was the GSX-R750 Slingshot, the J model in 1988. So basically a whole new approach to the motorcycle. The engine was one of the big things they changed. They went from a long stroke engine to a short stroke. So they wanted to get more RPM, which in turn is more horsepower. So they increased the red line. And one way to do that was to make the shorter stroke engine. We'll get back to a little bit more on that in a minute. All new chassis, much more refined bodywork, more rounded. Went to 17-inch wheels, which was a really big deal at that point. The previous bike had been 18s, and also heard there was a little bit of chatter about maybe doing a 16-inch front wheel because that was kind of popular at that time. But as we all know, 17-inch wheels have become the standard, and the Slingshot launched with those wheels. So really cool motorcycle, but quickly they found out that the factory teams did really well with the new short stroke engine, but the privateer teams were struggling, and the street riders were not a fan of the short stroke. Apparently it was just too hard to ride, and it was really difficult to get up into the peak RPM. So they went back to the drawing board and they built 500 examples of the most epic GSX-R750 ever built, the GSX-R750 RK. So basically with this bike, they went back to the old long stroke engine. They put a single seat on. They built an aluminum fuel tank, which was really cool. And then they made the race body work out of fiberglass. So that bike was sort of their quick answer for those guys that wanted the long stroke motor. But only 500 of those bikes built. It had a really cool twin headlights, red number plate on the back tail, and it's probably the most sought after GSX-R750 of all time. The 88 GSX-R750 was unique in the way that it came with dual exhausts coming out the back, one on each side. Apparently at that time there was a lot of stringent noise requirements, and although it was heavier, the Suzuki engineers decided to go with the twin exhaust. If you're ever near Birmingham, Alabama, you should for sure go to the Barber Motorcycle Museum. They have an original, I believe, 0-mile GSX-R750 there. It's red with the dual exhausts, and an absolutely beautiful machine that has been preserved. So super cool and worth checking out. So from the J, they moved on. At that time, these bikes were changing like every year, which is pretty crazy because nowadays, like our current GSX-R750 has remained basically unchanged since like 2006. It's had obviously minor changes, but back in these days, which the glory days, the golden era, they were changing bikes basically every year. So in '89, they came along with the upside down forks. I don't know if that was in all markets. It gets a little bit tricky because there's some bikes came to the US, but then other bikes went globally. I believe the US was a little bit behind on this, but they went to an upside down Showa fork. And then they also went back to the long stroke motor. So kind of, I think maybe chalked the short stroke motor up as a little bit of a failure and then went back to the long stroke. From there, there was more changes in '91 where they went to the all new bodywork, which was really cool. It still kept that twin headlight design, but it put the lights underneath like a plexiglass front, much more aerodynamic and a lot more like an endurance racer look. So 91 and 92, I believe, in the US. That's the bike I have, which is probably about the best oil-cooled bike. It was the last one, most aerodynamic, and the last one before they switched to the water-cooled bikes. So water-cooled bikes, let's talk about that a little bit. A lot of information about those in this GSX-R Legacy book. The water-cooled bike is an interesting one because apparently at that time there was a big debate internally at Suzuki. A lot of the engineers were like, well, basically they knew they needed to go water-cooled. The oil-cooled had only got them so far and they were making so much power, and there was basically just no way to keep the bikes cool. So it was inevitable they had to go water-cooled, but the question was, how were they going to do it? So from what it sounds like, the engineers were basically pushed for like, we have to start from scratch and we're going to re-engineer the bike from scratch and we're going to water cool it. Well, the management and product planners were like, wait, hold on a minute here, guys. We have a legendary motorcycle that we've sold a ton of. It's made us a bunch of money. We don't really want to mess with this too much. So how about you kind of keep a lot of the same things from the oil-cooled bike, but then you water-cooled it. So yeah, the W, essentially they water-cooled an oil-cooled motorcycle, which they made it faster and obviously cooled better, but it was essentially 60 to 70 pounds heavier than the Slingshot it replaced. So W's, cool bikes, but maybe not the best generation of GSX-Rs. So fast forward to 1996, and I think the engineers got exactly what they wanted, and they were able to have a blank slate and start over, and that's what they did with the S-Rad. So with that, they had the full aluminum perimeter frame, obviously water-cooled, aerodynamic, bodywork, kind of started from scratch. So really cool motorcycle, and that's one that I think is really special. So as you can probably tell, I'm super passionate about these bikes. I have a 89 in the garage that at some point we're going to take a Bandit 1200 engine, put it into it, be a little bit of a Frankenstein type bike, street bike. And then the 92 is the track bike I'm working on. Super cool bike. That'll be 750 track bike. And then I've kind of skipped the W. I might get a W at some point. I don't know. If the right deal came up on a W, I'd probably take it. But at the moment, skipping the W, and then I have an S-Rad the fuel injected S-Rad, so 99 S-Rad, so super cool bike. So yeah, really cool bikes. I hope this is helpful. As I say, I don't want to claim to be the absolute expert and encyclopedia on these bikes. I kind of want to just give a bit of an overview. There's great information in this GSX-R Legacy book. Be super cool if they publish this again. There's obviously a ton of information online as well. If there are any errors in this video, please point them out. As I said in earlier videos, I don't claim to be the expert on all this stuff. I'm just a super enthusiast and just want to kind of motivate and inspire people to get back into these bikes and kind of share more information about them. They're kind of a little bit of a dying breed. They were in a pre-internet era, and so most of the information about them is in print. So part of the motivation is to take some of the information from print and put it into YouTube digital form, and that's what we're doing here. So yeah, super excited about this channel. Got a really fun July coming up. We're going to go on a road trip to Canada and check out a really cool collection of two-strokes. So maybe get to ride a couple of two-strokes. So RG500s, RGV250s, RS250 Aprilias. So that'll be super cool to check out. And then at the end of July, going out to Vintage Motorcycle Days at Mid-Ohio. So yeah, I'm going to... Never been to that. It sounds awesome. Rodney Mankey says it's definitely worth checking out. So check out some road racing, some shows, all that good stuff. So it's going to be super fun. In the meantime, I'm going to be cranking on my personal builds. Hopefully get some of those done. Maybe even do a track day. Really like to take the S-Rad, and maybe if we get the Slingshot done to the track. So see how that goes. But yeah, super pumped. Thanks everybody for watching. If you have any ideas on future videos that you'd like to see, please leave them in the comments. And thank you so much.